Hi, everybody. So as background to this, I've been really interested in psychological safety, how to provide people the support they need to feel like they can be confident to speak. And one of the things that also hit me this, because of some of my prior experiences, mainly I wanted to be a journalism investigative reporter when I was a kid, that I was able to get pretty good confidence skills. And so I've been looking to then, how do you help other people become more confident? Because a lot of people I coach say that this is a real challenge for them to be confident. And so while it may seem counterintuitive to build your confidence by building your empathy muscles, it does work, except in situations like this morning when I was a little too empathetic and I hurt myself there. So let's kind of get ourselves regrouped here, and I am screen sharing, but I'm not seeing about advancing the slides. So let's see if we can move forward. Okay, what we're going to cover. We're going to do self-confidence, why self-confidence is so important, what you can do, and what's next. And then take questions at the end, and I'm assuming we can go ahead and just go over. So unless you guys are wanting to go to another session, feel free to come. And I'm not seeing the chat room. Is that activated, Nathan, if you're still on here? Because it'd be great if people can.
Yep, chat's there. They should be able to chat in the participants area there.
Okay.
But there's a button right in the middle at the bottom of Zoom. It says
invite. Oh. Is anybody else not seeing the chat button? I use Zoom all the time.
Oh, maybe because you're sharing the screen. I don't know.
Okay, great. So please. I see lots of other people, unless it's Brandy, Nina, Georgia. That's why I like to make sure that we've got some people. Okay,
yeah, they're chatting. Okay. They're chatting in there now. I see.
Okay, yeah. Super. Cool. Good stuff. Okay, so we will proceed then about why self-confidence is so important, especially in situations like this. Now, what you can do and what's next. So, of course, I can't get the slides to advance. Here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay. So self-confidence, generally it's too little, yet never enough for most of us. There are a few high-status jerks who exude confidence all the time, especially when they speak. And interestingly enough, they often will not be correct, but yet their voices get heard. For the rest of us, it's often a head game. All of this is in our head about not having enough confidence. And some of it is low esteem, but a lot of it is just the fact that we feel low in status, which is equated sometimes to low self-esteem. We feel like we don't have power compared to the other people around us, or we feel we're not being included. And there's also a big issue about if there's a lot of uncertainty, you can feel not very confident, and also related to that are feeling very ambiguous. The situations are ambiguous. And the problem is that when you don't have self-confidence, you often stay quiet. It prevents you from speaking up, and you won't get the respect because people don't hear your voice in the room or the voice on Zoom. And so what helps to get around this is to look at two different ways, from the brain and from the heart. And as a brain-based coach, I often work in the head space, and that when self-confidence is involved, that involves really making a point to cultivate your competencies. So become really good in a few things, or in a particular things that interest you. And so whenever you feel not so self-confident, you can remind yourself, I'm really good in this area. This makes me feel better. I can hold my ground with this, and I can hold my ground in other things. And the other thing that really helps is to nurture a growth mindset. So this idea that you're always learning. It's okay to fail, as in I failed getting to you guys on time. And but I have learnings from that, and I'm always a work in progress. So this is really important for building your confidence. We're not going to talk about that as much now as we are going to step on the right, the more emotional piece. So this idea of making sure that you get out of your head, and ways to do that is to look up and out rather than down and in and into yourself. And you deal with this exclusion and uncertainty by building your empathy muscles and observing others and practicing a daily act of kindness as well, and looking for things that you can spot people doing the right thing. And that can help make you feel better and give you more confidence. So in particular, these empathy muscles, empathy is very complex, as now we're beginning to know. And for our purposes this morning, it's just multiple ways to show that you care about other people and their feelings. So for example, I was concerned, the case I was giving earlier about why I flubbed this was I didn't want to be noisy to the other speaker. So I kept my things off. But the other benefits that when you're nice to others, you feel good too, and you keep on your toes, continue to look for good things to compliment people on. And the picture right here is me reading to Marcel this wonderful book on empathy, even though it has a funny title. It's The War for Kindness by Jamil Zaki out of Stanford. And he's one of the premier researchers and writers on empathy out of Stanford. And he does a lot of really great stuff on LinkedIn. The other thing that's important about empathy muscles is, in both from a standpoint of building empathy muscles and for practicing daily acts of kindness, is be kind to yourself too. You should be one of the people that you're being kind to. And the value of this is you need to have compassion for yourself because we're living in difficult times. And by having compassion for yourself and being kind to yourself, you won't burn yourself out. Because if you burn yourself out, you can't be good for anybody. Okay? So then we will talk about some things that you can do. So this idea about becoming curious and thinking about who's a priority for you, from a standpoint of who's really important in your world or who's coming important, and how can you be kind to them, because that will also help you. Also think about the environment, because again, you don't want to run yourself ragged. So you want to think about what's going to work for you in your environment and what's going to be easy for you to do these acts of kindness. And this idea about when are you available mentally and physically to be kind. I mean, as I was scrambling to get on this call, do you think I would start to give anybody an act of kindness? No, because I'm pure flee mode trying to figure out how to do this. But later on today, I'm sure or at least I hope I will revert back and wanting to show acts of kindness to folks. And the acts of kindness can be what's important to you, as well as hopefully what's important to others, to make sure that it's resonating and landing. And you can always ask people, is this meaningful to you? So for example, things that you can do, or even just check-ins. And if you, for example, have somebody you like to check in with, you don't see very regularly, try to check in with them with the channel that they prefer. So for example, if they like phone calls, give them a phone call, because that will be much more meaningful for them than not. Or even, complimenting them or catching people doing the right thing. These do not have to be complicated, but it's helpful. And another thing that can be helpful too is when you observe, think about, what can I learn about this person? What can I learn from this person? And how can I show them that I care? And then that will give you into a really great loop, and that will help. And then the other thing that's helpful is to acknowledge yourself when you do these things. Oh, and the other thing too is make sure that when you're kind to yourself, do things that are meaningful for you. So for example, one of the individuals I've been coaching, she realized that she had given up daily exercise. She put it to the bottom of her list. And the fact that that was really important to her, and she put it at the top of her list, has been making her just feel so much better. she's just so feeling better mindset, better just feeling like she can conquer the world, getting regular exercise, just much more relaxed and all of that, that's given her the ability to do more for others. So again, this idea of being compassionate. And as you practice this, what you're doing is you're both increasing your self-awareness and the awareness of others. You're becoming more compassionate. You're protecting yourself against burnout. And then over time, what you're able to do is build even greater confidence that you're going to be able to see something and say something and really speak up in situations. And this idea that came out of 9/11 years ago, see something, say something, everybody, it's a great, great expression, but it's really very hard to do. And even it doesn't matter if you're an extrovert, or it doesn't matter if you're an introvert, it just can take a lot of courage in the moment, especially if you feel that the situation's ambiguous, you're not too sure how to detect it, or you feel like you could be a social threat, that somebody's going to make fun of you or put you down or something like that, or you could have retribution. So if you can start building these empathy muscles and this confidence, you're going to provide yourself the psychological safety to be able to say, for example, if you see something that's ambiguous to you or uncertain, you're going to feel more like, okay, can I ask somebody a question? Can I ask you a clarifying question? Am I interpreting this correctly, or are you trying to do this, whatever? And that will help you be able to speak up. So that is the gist of what I was going to share this morning. This idea that, remember, you are a work in progress with unique skills and experiences. So while you may go, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, you still have these unique skills and experiences that you can call on and channel and say, okay, I am learning, I'm a good person. And then this idea of you're leading with empathy. So you're being kind and you can support others and speak up, and that helps you. And then for those who want to go more faster with others, that's where you consider coaching. And so I coach both individual clients. I also coach through the Coach Me app, and you can reach me there, as well as connect with me on LinkedIn and also through email. So with that, I want to take any questions and comments, and let's see if I can again find the chat box, which I had lost earlier. Okay, so anybody want to ask any questions? Or we're all a small enough group, if you want to turn off your mics and just ask a question, please do so. Especially since I rather rushed through that.
I mean, I guess I could ask a question about, a situation that I'm in. I think maybe many others are in. I'm in Canada, but I think in the US it's happening a lot, where we are, interacting with people, in some cases people in our families or good friends, who it turns out, have very different value systems and belief systems, and it feels like those things cross at a deep values level. And so I've been really trying to, stretch the empathy muscles as I try to listen to somebody who, for instance, is saying things that to me sound, I don't even want to use the word racist, but like something like that, right? And like, how do you, have empathy for, where this person's coming from without validating what you feel is something that crosses your values, right?
Right. No, that's a very, very good question, and I think that's where you have to, it's not an either or situation. you can be empathetic for them for things totally unrelated to current events. So you can be empathetic, be kind to them for, let's say, the way they may be a parent about something related to school, but not related to what they're doing about the pandemic. And on the pandemic front and their values, that's where you move into the curiosity mode. And you just ask them to explain to you some of their beliefs. And not that with this attitude that you're going to change them or they're going to change you because you think you're probably going to be solid enough, but just from a curiosity perspective, try to better understand them.
Right. Yeah, understand where they're coming from and
Yeah.
and that's what I have done in this situation. And I've just tried to be, I hear that you're feeling really threatened and really scared, and that must be a terrible place to live right now.
Yes.
And just sort of leave it at that.
Exactly. Good for you for doing that. Yeah.
No,
But these are very, very challenging times. And I think it's this one thing that's, and it'll try to see the flip side of it. I think one thing that is good about this is it's coming out about how we are so polarized for these different things and helping to see if there are ways to understand each other better and look for things that we can bridge.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for raising that. Anybody else? Well, I appreciate everybody joining. I think we went through, some of us went through, I think, 3 platforms to get here, which I hope is a record. I hope nobody else has to do that. I hope we can all then go back to, then use either the networking feature. I'll join in with that shortly to meet other Momentum Conference participants. And if anybody wants, the recording will be available later. And if anybody wants my slides, just let me know, or has any questions, just shoot me an email, or I think you may be able to, I guess shoot me an email might probably be the best, or connect with me on LinkedIn. And here's hoping 2021 is a great year with minimal technology and other challenges. And thanks, everybody. I'll stay a little bit longer if anybody does want to ask a question or anything. Oh, thank you,
Liz.
Nathan, for putting that in.
No problem at all. Thanks for being patient and, really working through the technical issues there. And I'm glad that some people made it over to Zoom to do this together. And I enjoyed what you shared. I didn't get to catch it all because I had to bounce around, but I did get the end there where Deb had the question. I think that was really valuable insights. I personally have been kind of running through some of the same, scenarios and same challenges with people that maybe don't see eye to eye on the same things at this moment in time, whether it's to do with the pandemic or, sort of social justice and, issues with race and all that right now. So it's really good to kind of, take that perspective, which is like, how can we connect? Where can we see this?
Yeah.
And I think, Deb, I don't know if you have some experience with, or maybe you're already gone, but with nonviolent communication, but I think there's some nonviolent communication aspect to this too, which is like, stepping back from it a bit and saying, oh, what is that they need? What's the need that they're trying to fulfill with this, this kind of feeling or this kind of reaction? It's like, oh, they have a need for feeling safe or feeling, feeling not controlled or whatever it is, and then trying to work in from that angle. So that's pretty, that's pretty good. Mm-hmm.
That's huge. The other thing that's, I think, makes a big difference are dogs. I have Marcel was in my lap in that photo as a therapy dog. And dogs have a way to bridge us.
Yes,
and
for sure.
When I was taking, Marcel's on furlough from the hospital right now, but when we would go there and see, people in MAGA hats and wearing Black Lives Matter in the same waiting room, we could still have the conversation about the dog and talking to the dogs and the animals.
Yes. Yeah,
And finding
for sure.
these common things that we can latch on and recognize that dogs don't care. They just want
Yeah.
us to be kind to them and to one another.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not all one thing, I think, is the thing that is the other part of that,
Mhm.
conversation, which is like, as much as people might have very strong opinions on things, like there's so much more nuance in there that, if you can find something you relate to or connect to, like maybe you both like the same sport or,
Right.
some other area, you can get off of that topic, hopefully, and onto something that is more constructive. I mean, as much as I think it's important to have those conversations, it's just not always productive with some people. So.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the other thing that's interesting too about the confidence research is that the people who are more knowledgeable and can go deeper in things can often be a little bit more tentative
Yeah.
because they
Yep.
know and understand the nuances.
Sure.
And that helps as well, as to recognize, okay, let me not just stay on the surface, but let me go a little bit deeper and
Yep.
explore and be curious.
Yeah, curiosity is a great one. I love that.
Mhm.
Like the idea of being curious, being open, also not really feeling like you're always right about everything. Like, there's some things I don't understand. Maybe there's some things, even inside of things that I think are maybe, quite clear, there's also some nuance. Like, why does someone feel that way? Why is someone, it's not all black and white in a really like, um, there's a lot of gray areas where like I can see where people are coming from, what they're feeling, even though I might disagree with them.
Mhm.
And I think like Deb mentioned that too. Like, I can see the fear, someone, in my family has, for example, that drives them towards wanting to, accept some things, or turn a blind eye to some things in order to get their fears, sort
Yeah.
of solved or something. Yeah. So
Yeah. Fear is so huge, so
yeah,
huge. Well, great
definitely.
talking with you. I don't want to
Yeah,
monopolize
you
you
too.
because I know you've got lots
No
of other
problem.
things to do.
No, you
So,
got it. It's a good. We're glad to have you here, and yeah, I hope people will check out your coaching profile or go, on LinkedIn and
okay,
get
great.
connected if it's been helpful. Yeah.